Today what's important is that we learn how to bridge the gap between this physical body that we are, right? You are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, whatever it is, your physical age, your body, and your form. You want to bridge the gap between this, this adult that you've become and the child within you that still has very much intact the same belief systems from way back when. The same perceptions, right? The same reactions, the same emotional state. Many people get to a place where, they're suffering from anxiety and they don't, they hear about this and they go, wow, I really haven't grown out. I got to face this. I can't keep denying it. But I really have to grow out of these ideas in my head and in my body that, I've had with me since I was a kid. I have the same ideas about people, about what I'm capable of, about, what is rational and irrational fear, this sensitivity within me. Comment below, be honest, and let us all know if in fact you are still carrying around similar perceptions, beliefs, and attitudes that you had when you were a child. Now, our job today and every day is to get to a place where this inner child within us who has seen things, right? And there is nobody on this planet, okay, that doesn't go through some type of challenge, difficulty, emotional traumas, intense moments in their lives. It's just varying degrees, right? So you're there, Jum's been there, Michael's been there, Becca's been there, Kyle's been there, Millie's been there, I've been there, we've all been there at different degrees. That's not important. The question is how are we going to start dealing with it? So today we're going to bridge the gap. Okay, and I want to mention a couple of very important things that we need to be aware of as we're going through the day, okay? Because we are literally going through our days with very absurd perceptions, absurd ways of seeing ourselves in the world and seeing, the external, the stimuli in the outside world. We are becoming very hesitant and sensitized for no particular reason but that of the perceptions and the beliefs of that inner child. And we're going to get into questions about halfway through this, guys, but here are a few things that we need to make sure we do as we're going through the day, okay? Be aware of this. Number one, okay, is you want to make sure, because here's what's important. I don't know if anybody has kids here. I think the majority of you have kids. When you go through the day, you are, you're walking with your kid hand in hand, or, you're watching them play their soccer game or baseball game, right? Or you're noticing them and their friends together playing, and there's something happening there. You are literally in the mind and the perceptions of that child that you're focusing on, okay? You are in the mind, you are in the body, you are in the perceptions of that child that you're focusing on. This is what's happening in that moment as my focus, my emotions are directed towards that child. Now, as you're going through the day, you have to be mindful of the perceptions from your own inner child. You know what your inner child is thinking, saying, and feeling about a situation by your emotional state. Understand this, okay? Your emotional state dictates how much safety you've projected or are projecting to the inner child, or how much fear you're projecting to the inner child. I say this over and over again to people, and it's an important thing to recognize. If you could just treat yourself the same way you treat your own children, you are free, literally. You are aware of their movements, how they view things, how they're perceiving things, how they're behaving in that moment. You're aware of so many things. So one of the keys is to be mindful of the perception of your inner child, and you understand that by your emotional state. Now what happens? What happens is you're no longer frantic, and you're no longer associating or connecting an emotion to something catastrophic that is currently going on or something that's going to happen in the future. So jot this down, okay? Be mindful of the inner child's perceptions, because they've been through a lot of stuff, guys, right? I mean, so many times we go into our adult life and we go, oh, that happened to me 30 years ago or 40 years ago. It's gone now. It's behind me. And, in that current moment, you're experiencing certain symptoms, sensations, certain perceptions, all these things. And you're going, no, it has nothing to do with what happened 30 to 40 years ago. Let me tell you something. That is very much false and untrue, because there is a system within you that records everything that you've been through, and it records experiences that are more emotionally intense at a deeper level. It makes sure that those recordings don't leave. So if any time in your life, multiple times in your life, you felt like you were frozen in time, helpless, right? I'm here and my conscious mind is so overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. I feel like things are slowing down. Everybody has a different experience when they freeze or feel helpless in that response. But first thing is to be mindful of the perceptions of your inner child, number one. Number two, okay, is to show a high level of compassion. Now, what happens when somebody feels something that they don't like? What happens? Why do I feel this? Oh, I'm such a loser. Oh, this is never going to go away. Why can't I just be normal? Why I'm doing all the work. Why is anxiety still around? All these things start to show up. Comment below and tell me honestly, how do you react when you feel something you don't like? When you think something that just doesn't seem to disappear on its own, right? Comment below on your immediate reaction. What goes on in your own head? Great comments, guys. Your engagement is absolutely inspiring to me. Will says scared. Sophia gets in a panicky state if she feels something that is not in line with what she wants to feel. Barb feels angry. Priscilla is frustrated and scared. Janine gets into a cycle of just thinking about it nonstop. Kyla simply freaks out, right? And Rachel says, I've failed myself. Now, the second thing we have to make sure that we do, okay, is to respond with compassion. Now, compassion is one of those things where you start to feel highly empathetic towards that inner wounded child within you. You start to say, hey, inner child, I fully get it. I fully understand. I fully get that your sensitivity and your perceptions are still in place because of what occurred, because we haven't yet been able to renegotiate those things that you've been through. The inner child believes that that triggering moment is going to show up in the future or is showing up in the moment, and therefore this physiological response starts to happen. Anxiety starts to brood within us. Instead, you're going about your day, right? Here I am, going about my day. I could be driving, I could be walking, I could be running, I could be doing anything. I could be sitting around. And something shows up. And that could be an idea in your head, a thought, a negative thought. That could be a symptom in your body. That could be an emotion such as sadness. That could be anything that shows up, right? And instead of you in that moment going, oh, I am such a this, or it's going to get even worse because that's what happened last time. Instead of going in that direction, what you do is you say, wow, inner child, I get it. I get it. I know where you've been. And I am compassionate and I am empathetic to where you've been. I understand it. But here is what's true right now. Not what was true 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 years ago, right? Here's what's true right now in this moment. And the simple response of compassion to that inner child shows the inner child gradually and slowly. As you notice, kids need some repetition in order for them to get things. Starts to go, wow, this situation, because you're going to survive it, right? This situation is done. I mean, the thing that I've connected to being a threatening thing to either my survival or my social status or whatever it is, my reputation, if that was what happened at school, that is no longer true for me, the inner wounded child starts to say. So this response of compassion is something that is so important. I cannot tell you how important this is, because there is one word going around the anxiety world and the healing world, and that word is acceptance. You have to accept what you're feeling. You have to accept these thoughts and so forth. But my response to that is, before you accept, you have to have some kind of a proper response, the right mindset. You need a skill in that moment. You need a responding skill. More than anything, you need compassion. Okay? Now, the third thing that you want to make sure that you adopt, okay, into your day as you're going through the day, because let me tell you something. Anxiety sufferers know, most of them know when things are going to get challenging, when things are going to slow down a little bit more as far as the emotional intensity that they're feeling in their bodies. They know when things are going to slow down in their thinking, right? They get, you wake up, and some people have morning anxiety from 6 to 9, and then 9 to 10 while they're driving. Many times they're so involved in driving that they don't pay attention to what's going on in their body. They get to work, and they know the moment they lock eyes with their boss, they're going to get into a bit of a freezing state, a mild freezing state. And then, as the day progresses in the evening, they feel like, ooh, I've fought so hard today. I've battled my head off. I was going to say a bad word there, but battled my head off. And I'm just too tired to keep battling, right? This is kind of the response. In the evening, many people start to feel okay, right? They are bored, they are frustrated, they are annoyed, they are disinterested in all the negatives, right? And the physical body, you see it. They're tired from all the fighting. So the third thing, the approach that we must have towards bridging the gap between our child and adult sides, is guidance. Guidance. An emotion, a negative emotion shows up, a physical sensation shows up, a thought shows up, A future catastrophic event as an image in your head shows up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You remember that you need to have a certain amount of guidance in that moment. Just like you do with your own children. You guide them, right? You respond to them. You don't react to them. You respond to them. Trudy, I've been there. I understand, and that's why you're here. And that's why we're moving forward. We're taking those small steps each and every day together. All right? Chantel made it. That was loud. Today's very tiring. Tomorrow's a new day. So, have an approach of guiding yourself, guiding your feelings, guiding your thoughts, guiding your physical sensation, guiding the images that are playing out in your head. Come from a place of guidance rather than reactiveness, okay? And in the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to go, ooh, there it is again. I don't like that, right? And you go into this mild, panicky state, and then you remember, hey, hold on in this moment, right? I've survived these moments over and over again, and I know that logic doesn't really work very well for me, right? To just rationalize my way through the situation. So I'm going to make sure that I take a few steps back and provide guidance to that inner child who's coming out and showing up through my physical body. All right? Stillness. Stillness to me is one of the best responses that you can physiologically, mentally, emotionally have in moments of distress. Because in that moment, and you want to make sure that you're recognizing whether it's a freezing response and I just want to stay still because I'm so overwhelmed. Is it that, or is it a conscious response where you're saying, hey, if I just stay still, and not just still and constricted, but still and nurturing, still and guiding, still and compassionate, then over time what starts to happen, with every moment that goes by through that stillness, I am projecting safety. Every moment that goes by, the inner wounded child says, wow, this was a false alarm. It's a false alarm. It's not the same meaning we had when we were a kid. Beautiful response, right? Beautiful. So yes, to answer that, stillness is a very powerful experience and a response that when practiced and really when you get to a place where you have mastered this response, right? I mean, I remember, this is crazy, but watching a documentary a couple days ago, and I was watching this monk, this Buddhist monk, and there was a protest going on at the time, and the Buddhist monk, out of protest, set himself on fire. And I'm looking at this photo of this guy who's physically burning, okay? And I'm going, what's going on here? He is not moving. He looks like he's just in this trance state, meditative, internal, focused. The anticipation of fear before he was going to, burn himself wasn't there. There was no anticipation. And if there was no anticipation and the mind was in fact calm and the mind projected this response to the body and the body then responded back to the mind, there's some congruency there, they are in harmony, what starts to happen? He doesn't feel the physical pain anymore. I thought that was absolutely amazing, amazing. Which shows what we're capable of and which shows how far we actually are from where we need to be. At the root of all this, okay, when we're talking about emotional traumas, we're talking about generational traumas. In my new book coming out, I mentioned how if I go back 4, 5, 6 generations, it is the same person. I mean, all the way from the great-great-great-grandpa to great-great-grandpa to great-grandpa to grandpa to dad to me. I mean, physically you look sort of different, right? But mentally, emotionally, the same beliefs, the same rules of life, the same everything. It's all there, right? It's like a carbon copy. So generational trauma is very much present, I believe. But very important that we go deep. Because without any depth in our healing journey, we're not going to get anywhere. If you revert to things that you believe are comfortable in order to heal, you're not going to heal. You have to get to a place where you are, in fact, uncomfortable. Now, what is uncomfortable? Uncomfortable is getting on YouTube or doing the End the Anxiety program and going through the reframing exercise, the renegotiating exercise. It's booking someone locally, an NLP practitioner, someone that specializes in hypnosis, whatever it may be. Many different methods. Find the person that focuses on regression work, okay, but allows you to renegotiate your past experiences that started the snowball of anxiety that you're experiencing today. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable each and every day, you're not healing. Okay, if you're not uncomfortable each and every day, you're not healing. If you're not challenging yourself mentally, if you're not challenging your inner child's viewpoints emotionally, if you're not challenging yourself physically, that's where you see exposure therapy come into place. If you're not challenging yourself imaginatively, and you know what? Even religiously and spiritually. I don't go down that road too much, but once in a while I need to tell people that they have permission from God, from source energy. You have permission to believe something different, to trust your instinct, to trust your intuition that says, hey, I don't have to fall in line. I don't have to fall in line with the same beliefs, religiously and spiritually, as my authority figures, my caretakers from years over years over years. I have full permission to believe something completely different, go with what I believe is true for me, and therefore still keep connected and still keep that love and attachment alive between me and my authority figures. Many times, people don't change because they're scared of what other people will think about them. Period. That is the biggest roadblock to healing that I see today. Right? And they don't consciously bring it out because it makes them feel weak. It makes them feel weak. It makes them feel stupid. Right? If I change, how ridiculous. If I change, then I'm going to lose that connectedness with my friend. You know, that 5 p.m. evening where we get on the phone together and we talk about how crappy our day was and how difficult it was and how challenging life is going to be in the future. You know, that chat. We're not going to have that chat anymore, right? And in the back of your mind, you're not changing. Part of you wants to change, but a bigger part of you is saying, hey, no, don't do it. You might lose your best friend. Don't change your spiritual beliefs because that's not what mom said. That's not what dad said, right? If they're on this planet or not doesn't matter. We have to be comfortable with being alone on this journey towards healing, if that's what it takes. If it takes the idea that I'm going to do this alone and I'm going to take a vacation away from the people. And it's not just the people, it's the energy of those people. It's the draining, incomplete bombardment of energy and emotions that become expressed by these other people that you then take in because that subconscious mind is constantly reading energy fields, reading emotions. I mean, you think that when you make a conscious decision, you're like, ooh, that is that. You connect the dots. Yeah, let me tell you something. Your subconscious has been working on that way before your conscious mind even has the opportunity to put two and two together. This equals that. This is safe. That is good. That is bad. Consciously, you're like, oh, that's that. Yeah, but hold on. Right? Your subconscious has been working on that for quite some time. So we're not here to move with a conscious mind to say, hey, I desire something, I want something, and therefore it's going to happen. No. We need to convince the inner wounded child connected to the subconscious mind and body that has in fact stored the memories of the past, that has in fact stored the emotional states from the past, and is reliving those states constantly on a daily basis today, thinking that it's still back 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. It doesn't know that the trauma is over. Let that sink in for a moment. Yep. I mean, on my healing journey, was very alone, very alone, very alone. I didn't do it for the sake of me feeling helpless and hopeless. I didn't do it. I didn't lock myself in a room and say, I'm told to be alone. Not that. I said, I have to move in a direction that feels uncomfortable. I have to move in a direction that feels uncertain to me. Because without that balance between the need for certainty, number one, and the faith in uncertainty, number two, nothing changes. Becca, get some tea. You go get some tea. But being alone isn't a bad thing. Loneliness makes us feel disconnected. Loneliness, when we're alone, it makes us feel like we're moving backwards. Because there's a part of us that constantly wants to be accepted, constantly wants to connect with other people, constantly wants to put him or herself out there on a daily basis to feel like they're moving forward. But let me tell you something. When you're alone and when you're embracing the uncertainty, you're moving forward so much faster than you would if you were pleasing other people on a daily basis. The energies, the co-working spaces, the emotions, the mental environment of others, the verbal language of others, the physiology of others, all these things. When you spend time alone, and when you spend time in stillness, and when you spend time being uncomfortable, you start to prove so many things to yourself. In this world, right here, right now, people feel like they need to go, act, expose. Exposure is a part of the journey, and so is stillness and loneliness. I don't even like saying that, loneliness, right? Being alone. And so we must begin to take on this journey by ourselves. And we must begin attaching a new definition, a new meaning to spending time by myself. But not only just spending time by myself, but realizing what sort of clarity comes by being still, by being meditative, by taking on new spiritual beliefs, whatever it may be, right? Because you have that permission. And we must understand, again, going back to our main topic today before we get into some questions, bridging the gap. mindful of your inner child's perceptions, number one. Write this down. Tattoo it on your arm. I don't know if everybody knows out there, but when I was going through, my darkest days, I got a couple of tattoos that I still have. And this is one of those tattoos where I said, man, it's dark. Like, I'm at the place where I'm literally, I've planned my suicide, right? That's where I was. And in the second book coming up, I go really deep into this. But, I got these tattoos, and one says, all power is from within and is therefore under our own control. I remember being introduced to yoga, and I did a yoga session. And after the yoga session, you grab these little cards and you get to keep them. And on that card it said, all power is from within and is therefore under our own control. Which started to prove to me that I was the very person, I was the very one, I was the very energy that was in fact causing me to feel this way and to think this way each and every day. Right? I was doing it to myself, right? So that was one. I have another tattoo that says believe. And so believe started to show up after my desperation. Desperation, rock bottom showed up first. The inner work continued. The uncertainty was met on a daily basis, and belief started to show up. Belief does not show up at the beginning of the journey. It shows up as you're going through the journey. Now we've got bridging the gap, mindful of the perceptions of your inner child, number one. Number two, compassion when you feel, think something, imagine something. Compassion, knowing that that inner child still believes something about this situation or what's upcoming. Guidance, you want to have the attitude of guiding this inner child as if it's your own child, right? Little Timmy, little Johnny, little Trudy, little Sarah, right? She's 5 or 6 years old. She comes to you and says, Mommy, Daddy, something doesn't feel right now. I have a bad feeling in my body, right? Or this happened today and it truly was a horrible experience, Mommy. And you do go, oh, whoa, hold on there. Don't ever do that again, right? That is bad. Or, oh, that thing that you fear it's so true that you should fear that thing. In fact, you should avoid it completely, right? You would not respond in these frantic ways, right? You would not respond that way to your child. So tell me, why are you reacting? Why are you reacting that way to your own inner child who's just trying to make sense of the world? It's trying to make sense of everything. What does that yellow flower mean? What does this person who's wearing the same shirt as my father used to wear, what does that mean now? Right? What does it mean when I'm out there on the road and someone cuts me off? What does that mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? Every moment of every day, we are either keeping the same meanings from when we were children, or we are updating them. Ask yourself, are you updating your own belief systems, yes or no? And if the answer is no, I'm telling you, study this content as if your life depends on it, because it does. Period. The fourth part to all of this, and the final part, is patience. People have trouble with patience because they feel like they're running out of time. They feel like they live in a world where the answers should be right around the corner all the time. They feel like they should be able to change their emotional state, change the way they think in a moment. And yes, it's very, very possible. But for the ones that are having a challenging time, you have to be patient, just like you have been with your own kids. This level of patience with your own kids needs to be transitioned in towards the connection between your adult physical self and your child's mental and emotional needs. That bridge needs to be there. It needs to be completed. So your level of patience will determine the direction that you go in your life. If you are impatient, if you revert back to pre-programmed ways of reacting, I'm telling you guys right now, right? You're going to be met with a tremendous amount of frustration, bewilderment, fear, and deep levels of sensitivity. So that patience needs to be there. This today may be the most powerful and important thing that you could have heard today if you can just get the message across and say, you know what? Mindful of the perceptions, compassion towards my inner wounded child, guidance towards my inner wounded child, and patience. If I can just grab a hold of these principles, life can change. You can alter your life and move on to a whole new identity as quickly as your inner wounded child lets you. But we have to take these on, and we have to begin to live them out. That's what we need to do. We need to begin to live these out. So, Joe, Cheryl, Anita. We teach others, but we don't know how to teach ourselves. We do know how to treat ourselves. We just don't trust in what we know. We just don't trust in ourselves. We don't trust that we can do this. We don't trust that it's possible to create this change. We don't trust. We get all sorts of pessimistic viewpoints from the world. We get bombarded with information that sometimes we're aware of, sometimes we're unaware of, energies, emotions. And all of that collide with what we consciously want, and we talk ourselves out of it. But there's also another way. This is the way. So let's get into some questions, guys. I'm just going to take a book here. Let me just take a book. Let's go deep a little bit. Random paragraph from the Science of Mind. La 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 la. I'm going to take one that I highlighted, in fact. Ooh, this is kind of along the lines. Are you guys ready? It's like me reading a book before you go to bed. Are you ready? Right? A story time. Ernest Holmes says, each city or town has a special atmosphere, which is the result of the mental emanations of those who inhabit it. The same may be said of nations. Each has its national mentality. Ooh, kind of along the lines of what we were talking about today, wasn't it? It's a good one. Okay. Another random one. Personality is the result of man's experience. It is the sum total of all that he has said, done, felt, thought, hoped for, and believed in. It is the result of his reactions to the events of life as they come and go. Wow. Going deep. So 2 very important rules there. Guys, let's get into some Q&A. I really want to dive into things that are on your mind. Content from the week. We had a very important YouTube video go out on Wednesday. One of those things that just hold people back is just being comfortable in their discomfort. If you haven't gone on YouTube and subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go on YouTube, subscribe the Anxiety Guy YouTube channel, and just go through the videos, study them religiously. But last week's video, last Wednesday's, was particularly important because I need us to understand what keeps us from change. And that's one of those things. Yeah, I'm pretty darn silly. If you're on Instagram, I don't know, Patty, if you follow me on Instagram, at the Anxiety Guy, go to Insta Stories, and I just let it out. It's just who I am. I can't be rigid. I can't be stiff. I can't live that way. I mean, I really believe that, when you look at a kid today, we have lost that side of us, and I'm learning a lot from them. And I like to be a lot like them as I go throughout the day with, of course, a more upgraded conscious mind. Yeah, we got to have that. The light went down a bit, but that's all right. You guys can still see me. Question. Snezhy, it's great to see you. Guys, let's see if we can keep the question semi-short. My question is, what is the best remedy or meditation for deep sleep when I feel anxious about something where I have an important event or client? I'll go to sleep, but my body shakes all night and my mind is in an awake state to the point where it ruins the following day and I'm fatigued. Okay, so Snezhy is having a difficult time, having a challenging time getting to sleep the night before because her mind and body are reacting to a potential threat the next day. I said it, threat. And that threat of meeting that client, and remember, what do we do here? We peel the onion, we take a few steps back. So in Snezhy's world, to meet the client or to meet that person could lead to what? Could lead to failure, could lead to a loss of something, such as income of some sort. And so she is threatened by what could potentially take place the next morning, and that is where the problem lies. Now, if we ask Snezhy, hey, when, where, with who did this discomfort begin with? When did this sensitivity begin? And you start to go, well, I was very much a people pleaser when I was 10, 12, and I was in that range, and I was at school and I was, trying to put on the happy face even though I wasn't feeling very good on the inside. Okay, well, what we need to do is we need to have a conversation with those same kids that you were trying to please on a daily basis from there, because it's a continuation is what it is. Okay, that's just one thing that needs to happen. Secondly, we need to really get comfortable with the possibility of the worst thing happening. Okay, so if Snezhy is going to go to sleep, she starts to think about, and she starts to actually, this is a little crazy, but I used to imagine the worst thing happening, the worst possible scenario. And as I did that, imagining the best helps. Imagining the worst with the right mindset helps. I used to imagine the worst thing, the worst thing that could occur in any given situation. So if I was with Snezhy the night before she's about to go to sleep, I'm imagining disappointing my client, disappointing someone, right? And I feel that feeling within me of disappointment. And in that moment, I've got an opportunity to begin to perceive that situation completely differently. It's not a disappointment. When one door closes, another door opens. I remind myself through that imaginative state. I also remind myself before I go to sleep that even if the worst thing is going to happen, it's not as bad as my mind and body are making it out to be, because I will survive it. I'm allowed to make mistakes, even though I was and am still highly, very much a perfectionist in my life today, which could be the case. I have to do everything the right way. I have to meet all expectations. No, you're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to screw up. And if the worst possible thing happened, so be it. Life goes on. That's kind of the approach, that neutral approach that we must have, Snezhy, before you go to sleep. You can't go to sleep with a meaning that's placed over an event the next morning that is putting immense pressure on you. You cannot go to sleep that way. You must go to sleep going, hey, inner wounded child, we don't have to be perfect tomorrow. We don't. And a good example of this again was when I with tremendous awareness said, I'm going to go, I don't recommend this level of extreme, but I'm going to go and I'm going to sleep outside for 3 nights. I slept outside for 3 nights because I was so scared of losing my job. I was so scared of financially, having nothing, poor. And I said, if I do this for 3 nights, maybe some insight is going to show up. Maybe these perceptions are going to change. I know, extreme version. So, slept outside. I met some homeless people. They were incredibly friendly, right? I put a hat in front of me to gather some coin from people. I made some decent money actually there. And, I got to see things that I normally would just rush through. I got to hear things, feel things it was an experience, and it proved to me that even if the worst happens, it's fine. Now, this is important, so the meaning must change. The perfectionism attitude, that idea of doing things correctly or else everything's going to go bonkers, needs to change. Number 2 is I would definitely go with my number 1. And I've revealed this in the past, but my number 1 mentor, teacher, meditation specialist, mystic, whatever you want to call her, her name is Kelly Howell. Kelly Howell isn't for everybody. Okay? Kelly Howell isn't for everybody. But Kelly Howell has an app called meditate.me. I have been using this for well over 12, 13 years. Very much on and off 12 years ago, and then kind of picked up steam a couple years ago, but very consistent, at least once per day with her. So I would recommend her because she literally creates emotional shifts within you. She has processes where she helps you to reframe things. Remember, reframing the past, but also you can reframe the future, right? Reframing the future through imagining how you want the scenario to go or going through the worst possible scenario. These are all possibilities. So she's fantastic. Putting things on paper, like Trudy's saying, when you put things on paper and then you take that piece of paper and you go, I did it. You rip up that piece of paper with all your negatives in it. You walk over to the garbage can. Put those pieces of paper into that garbage can. And you already have a beautiful association with the garbage can where if anything goes in it, it's pretty much forgotten and done, right? This is a tool that I tell people to do in the morning, but they can do any time, right? And you take it and you go, ooh, perfectionism. Ah, gone. Ooh, all these priorities, responsibilities. Gone. See you. All right. Ooh, I have to make sure that I feel good all the time. It's okay to feel okay. And so those are tools. You can rewatch this, all right? You can rewatch this on Facebook, or the post video is also going to be on YouTube now, right? On the Anxiety Guy YouTube channel, so please subscribe there. And I'm going to be putting these Facebook Lives there each and every week for you to go over multiple times, because every Facebook Live has a different everything, right? Sneji, did that help? Sometimes I go on a bit of a rant. Don't mind me. Things can get crazy. Expect anything, anytime with me, right? Some people call it crazy. I call it being human. Trudy burns her paper. Okay, don't burn down your house. Let's see what else we have as far as questions go. Brainsync.com. Patty, thank you very, very much. Pick up that app if you guys are interested. Snezzy, you are welcome, and I am proud of you. How's that Europe trip going? Those pictures were amazing. Yeah. Puts you right to sleep, Brandon. I think you're talking about Kelly Howell's meditation app. Is that right? That's what's putting you to sleep? Good stuff, good stuff. Becca is 50 years young. And she is 50 years young, and she is about to go through some tests. All right, this, that, and so forth. How can I remain calm while waiting for the results? You know, again, what do? We take this feeling, we take this situation, and we dial it back a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And in my case, if I was going to go and do some tests, right, and I felt the need to constantly do more tests. Ooh, I missed that test. Ooh, that thing that's connected to that thing that's connected to that thing, connected to that thing that's connected to that thing might happen. So I better get that test. So I convinced my doctor, I convinced everybody. Oh my God, it was a disaster. But I did all the tests. I did every test in the universe. Why? Well, I did those tests because I had a deep need, underlying a deep need for control. I needed to make sure that my career was under control. I need to make sure that people around me were under control. I need to make sure that my body was under control. I need to make sure that each and every situation I met each and every day was familiar and under control. This dire need for control, this dire need for certainty prevents us from seeing things and experiencing life the way we need to. Many times when we have this incredible need for control and certainty, life creates these blind spots, right? Creates these blind spots. And all of a sudden, we don't see the miracles around us and the good, but we're so focused on what could happen that is then bad. So I'm going to go with only my own experience because this is the best way to answer this question. I started to build my trust in my body, and I began to fill my day with experiences by other people called, spontaneous remissions, any types of healing, whatever it is. I started to fill my mind with the possibilities of my body taking care of me should my mind and emotions be working congruently. So if mentally I was there, right? I was good, and emotionally I was good, then I programmed into me that my body would be good as well, which is the case. When your conscious mind and your subconscious are working in harmony, the beliefs that you know of, your conscious, subconscious, the beliefs that you don't know of that show up through emotions, when these two things are working together, the body is the result. The body is the result. So I began to say that, hey, if I can just work on me mentally and emotionally, my body will respond just the way I want it to. It will respond. So what I did was I started to build trust in me. Becca, this is truly important because if I asked you right now, how much trust do you have in your body to take care of you, you would say none. Okay? Because those two minds are not working in harmony. So, trust in you to heal anything that may show up. Have faith in an intelligence that wants the best for you, and to go about your days balancing out the need for certainty and the faith in uncertainty. Therefore, when you go to a test, you approach it and you say, I'm not begging for a positive result, as in, you know what I mean, positive. I'm not begging for that anymore, because if anything does occur, I know that I have something within me that can become activated should I become a brand new personality and identity. Okay? Lori, we get those two minds working in harmony by the subconscious mind holding on to those memories of the past, okay, and reframing those, and consciously in the moment responding to situations differently. That would be the fastest way for me to respond to that. There are pictures in your head, like Becca, for example. She has a picture in her head that when she goes, it's already all organized. I know it is, because it was for me. Okay? The picture in your head is, if I go see the doctor and something goes wrong, and I'm in the waiting room or I'm at home and I get that call that something's wrong, right? It will be devastating for me, my family, and life will only be lived for a set amount of time. Those pictures are very much real for people that are highly sensitized to these kinds of tests and feel the need to constantly do tests again and again and again and again. Are these tests necessary? No. They're absolutely not necessary. People will tell you to do the tests constantly. If you're unsure of something, go do the test. Well, hold on a second. What's the opposing viewpoint of this? By doing more tests, you're literally opening yourself up to a world where you feel like you need to do even more tests because you may have missed something. Okay, it's a cycle. When you do the tests in the way that we progressively, as we move through life, are supposed to do them, rather than a frantic and repetitive way, that's healthy. That's normal. Okay? But, Becca, we need to change those pictures. Okay? We need to change those pictures. Because those pictures are bringing you into a frantic place, an emotional place. And let me tell you something, right? The emotions of a person and the thoughts of a person can lead them in a direction that makes them think that they're unhealthy. Think unhealthy, right? Not be unhealthy, but think that they're unhealthy. When in fact, I have worked with thousands of people over the years, thousands, right? You go on YouTube, there are 6 million views there, right? These people, I'm highly engaged with them. I comment on the good, I comment on the not so good. It doesn't matter to me, right? I project something. If you believe in it, great, use it. If you don't, move on. Out of all these people, rarely do I get people that say, I'm actually going through a physical issue in my life. Hold on here. So you're telling me that you are highly concerned about a physical thing appearing in your life, and your mental and emotional state are making you think that you need to stay in this state and the worst possible thing is going to happen based on tests you're about to do, but you actually aren't going through anything physically wrong with you? And they go, yeah. Okay. Well, if you could just shift things at a mental and emotional level, what do you think that's going to do to your body, I ask? And they start to go, well, I'm going to build trust in my body. Boom. Period. Okay. Becca, Health Anxiety, podcast number 27. Go listen to that 5 times over. Okay? Because if I was working with you, is if I was beside you, I would do, I mean, it's obviously a little bit more complex than I can share with people. It's a bit more complex than what I can just share. But I would get you to begin to work on this inner trust and to begin embracing this uncertainty and to begin guiding your inner child within you that is still sensitized and understanding that there is nothing to fear, literally. There's nothing to fear. If the worst possible thing were to happen, you must live with the ideas, you must live with the beliefs that you can handle anything. You must get to that emotional place, right? And if a picture shows up of the worst possible scenario, why don't you go right ahead and begin reframing that picture so it meets your desired result instead, right? I hope that touched on it. Health Anxiety Podcast 27, right? Go listen to it. It's going to speak directly to you. Know that you're in good hands here. Know that your mind can play many, many tricks on you. Know that your emotions can play many, many tricks on you. And know that physically you're in a healthy place. And know that you can stay in this physically healthy place as long as that subconscious and conscious are working together. Hannah, as far as reassurance seeking, I have a number of videos that have tremendous amounts of insight on this. Go on YouTube, okay, and look up The Fix. Like, go on the search area, The Fix, the Anxiety Guide. Watch that video where I'm going like this, right, to the beach, right? That one. So warriors, that is where we are. That was, I thought it was good. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Hit the love button. Tremendous love coming from me to you. You're in good hands. I will show you the path. I will show you the road. I will give you the insights. I will provide you what you need. And it's your job to walk that path, should you choose to walk that path. And if you're actually at a place in your life of total desperation, if you are desperate for change, if you have hit rock bottom, if you've gotten to that emotional place in your life, and you begin relentlessly putting to practice what I am telling you, you will get there. It is inevitable. Okay, it can't be any other way. All right? So I just want to say that I love each and every one of you. And I want to leave you with one final thing. All right? Mirza, I love you too. Janine, I love you. I want to leave you with one final thing. On this journey, okay, you're going to be met with your new identity. You're going to be met with a new personality. You're going to be met with someone that's highly foreign. Who is this person that starts to feel good? Who is this person who starts to perceive the world in a safe and loving manner? Unconditional love, right? Who is this? When you meet that person, when you have become that person, embrace that meeting. Do not run from it. Do not sabotage it. Do not look for what's been familiar from your past. Do not look for pain and fear. Just embrace this person with loving, open arms and say, hey, I welcome you. I'm glad you're here. I've done the inner work and you are the result. And I earned this result. And when you get to that place, become that person. Don't believe that you're just renting this identity or this personality. Remember that you are this person. All right? I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day. You deserve it. And remember that you are more than anxiety. Everybody from Marnie, that's right, to Snezzy, to Trudy, to Patty, Becca, Lori, Anita, Michael, Jason, my man. Sophia, see you on Instagram. And everybody else, see you really, really soon.